الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا يحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتم. Just keep one second. Further on from what we've been mentioning with regards to Gheebah and the remedy of Gheebah, a couple of malfuzat from Hazrat Hakim Umar rahmatullah alayhi, and these are in I.T.A. wherein certain Salikin had raised certain points to Hazrat Hakim Umar rahmatullah alayhi with regards to Gheebah. One Sadiq had written to Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullah alayhi, in which he says that the reason why I do Gheebah, and this is a ta'wil of interpretation of shaitan, the deception of shaitan, which he says that when I do Gheebah, or if somebody does Gheebah of me, as is mentioned in the hadith, that whoever we do Gheebah of, that person will get a share of our good deeds. Hence he wrote to Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullah alayhi that if I come to know of somebody doing Gheebah of me, then I do Gheebah of him as well. Or I do Gheebah of others, because there will be those who make Gheebah of me as well. So if they are making Gheebah of me, then they are giving me their reward. Hence, if I do Gheebah of somebody else, then I am giving them my reward. So it equals out, it balances out. This is how the nafs works. And this may not work with every person. Not every person may come to this type of a thought or conclusion, because shaitan works with every person in different manner. And that Sadiq who is on the path of suluk, wanting to do the islah and tarbiyah, to rectify that inner self of theirs, who are in that process of that ruhani safai, cleanliness of the heart, then shaitan will attack in that direction, in that manner as well. So this thought came in his mind that the matter will be equal out. He'll give me his rewards. So when I've earned from there, so what I lose from here, I've earned it from there anyway. So at the end, he's going to balance it out, and I'm not going to be in the loss. So Hazrat Hakim Umar rahmatullah alayhi replied to him saying that first of all, there is no guarantee that whatever reward you're going to gain from that person who does Gheebah of you, that is going to be equal or similar to the amount of ajr that is going to go from your side to the one that you make Gheebah of. There is no guarantee for that. It's not a case wherein you're going to be able to do the sums, that you're going to be able to see your account, that how much has gone from my account to that person and how much has come in from that person. You're not going to be aware of it. So there is no guarantee here that it is going to be equal. That what you've got from there is what you're going to lose as well. There is possibility that what goes from your good deeds may be more than what you gain from that individual. That is one. And the other is that the sort of reward of yours that may go to the one that you made Gheebah of, the level of that compared to what you gain from that other person is not going to be the same as well. So when it comes to najat in the hereafter, you do not know whether that person's good deeds that come to you will be a means of your najat or not. And it's possible that amal of yours, good deeds of yours, the ajr, which could have led to your najat, that you lost and you gave that to somebody else. So when these things are not guaranteed, then this whole concept of yours is full of flaw. So you should abstain from it. And this is nothing but the ta'wil of shaitan. This is the deception of shaitan, how shaitan misleads an individual. Now this person was very fortunate from the remedies, a couple were mentioned in last week's majlis, one of the remedy to Gheebah. And in actual fact not to Gheebah, but the remedy to all the spiritual illnesses that we suffer from is to have a shaykh and a murshid. Somebody with whom we are able to consult with regards to our ruhaniyat. Like this person had Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah Ali, he was able to consult with his shaykh with regards to these matters, because when shaitan then attacks and deceives an individual, then you need somebody who is able to diagnose it, who is able to understand that what this is. Is this the nafs? Is it shaitan? Is it something that is positive? Is it something that is negative? So one will not know these things unless a person has, just like any other illness as well. One is that a person diagnoses themselves, and again, nowadays it's very easy to diagnose things yourself by just Googling what your symptoms are. Majority of the time is going to take you towards cancer. This last week somebody was mentioning as well, that an illness, and the illness was the feet were inflamed. So they went and did a Google as well. And you'll find there will hardly any symptoms or any illness that you try and Google, but you'll find cancer definitely in everyone. Try it out. Put things in as you want, and you'll find cancer will always be there in the list. So everything else is bypassed. You just see cancer, and that's it. You're going to die soon. So this person got greatly worried with regard that they have cancer. So at the end, it came out to be what, that they had an allergic reaction to sugar, an allergic reaction that you don't want. So this person had an allergic reaction to sugar, that when they would pile up the sugar, then that's when it would have this effect that their feet would swell in such a manner, or some other reaction. So that was, it was something not so major, but in a diagnosis that they had done themselves through Dr. Google. Google is all round. Sometimes it will become Mufti Google, Sheikh Google, it will become Raki Google, it will become here Dr. Google as well. Then it will become plumber, engineer Google, it will become everything. That's how Google is, isn't it? So in this way, the diagnosis is wrong. With regards to these type of illnesses as well, if they have a shaykh, then we know that, look, this is negative or it's positive. Like the example I gave you previously, a person wrote to Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullah Ali that when I do sajda, I see the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I do sajda, I see the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, this is one of those things that if somebody today was experiencing something like that, then they would make sure to put that on their tweet or everywhere else and mention that, or murid group, if they have a murid group or so. Look, this is, and they'll put it this way, instead of boasting, put it in such a direction and asking, is there anybody else who experienced something like this? So that's the way of putting it. Instead of making that dawah that, look, this is what I'm experiencing now, this is the maqam that I have reached. Is there any other satis who is experiencing this type of a kayfiyat, that when they do sajda, they see the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is how you put it there, in a manner so that people come to know through our humble manner that, look, this is the kayfiyat that we are going through. And we would regard to be the, mashallah, this murid appeared by, he has reached a really high maqam here, and he's become a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he will also be under that misconception, that deception, that yes, he has become something. And shaitan does do that. A few days of zikr and Allah, and a bit of ibadat, and a bit of tahajjud, a bit of dua and that. And that's when shaitan now makes a person think that he has reached and he's completed all the stages of saluk, and now he has become kamil, he's become something. And now that he becomes, and he has that feeling, a misconception that he's become kamil, that's when he becomes nakam. Because when he becomes kamil, that's where he stops, he thinks, that's it, I'm fine now. There is no need for me to further any an islah of myself. I've reached a maqam wherein now the nafs, I've annihilated the nafs, and I can trust the nafs as well. And then you will find it's the same very person who will end up doing the ma'asiyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ending up in major, major sins, because they let loose the nafs, thinking that the nafs is under control. So in this way, this murid wrote to Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah Ali, this is the kayfiyat that he experiences. Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah Ali wrote back and replied to him immediately, that stop all the wazaif that you're doing and stop all the dhikr that you're doing. Everything cut off, finish everything, stop everything at the moment. Faraiz salat, that's obviously that has to continue. But whatever other zikr and wazaif you are doing, you need to stop all of those things. And Hazrat Rahmatullahi diagnosed that this person was doing excessive zikr. He was doing excessive zikr, and that led towards dryness in the mind, and because of the dryness of the mind, he was seeing what he thought was the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which actually was dryness of the mind. And at the same time, this person, why was he doing excessive zikr as well? So that he was doing excessive zikr so that he would reach a maqam wherein he might get khilafat as well from Hazrat Thanwi rahmatullah alayhi. Getting khilafat from any sheikh, Barhal, is not something you can just strive towards. It is something that comes on its way. And that should never be the maqsad as it is to become bay'at to any sheikh. That the maqsad of taking bay'at is that we will get khilafat. Khilafat should never be in our mind at all. The whole purpose of being attached to a sheikh is for the sake of our Islah. And there are many murideen who do not get khilafat, but their maqam will be a lot higher and better than maybe a murid who does get khilafat as well. So that is not something that we should just base everything upon. So Hazrat Hakim rahmatullah alayhi diagnosed in such a manner and told him to leave all the dhikr, because this was the dryness that had entered in his mind. What he thought that he was seeing the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that little bit of zikr that he was doing, riyazat that he was doing, he already felt in his mind that he's reached that maqam where he can see the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's where we are as well, isn't it? One Ramzan, one itikaf we do in Ramzan, or one chilla that we might do, one hajj that we might do, one umrah we might go and do, one chilla by the shaykh that we might do, and a bit of tahajjud that we've been doing. So a bit of process or a period of time of doing some ibadat, and we think already that we have become kamil. Something which takes a person years, something that takes sometimes even an entire life. Because this process is that, with the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For instance, a person works, you have an age wherein you'll call, this is now the age wherein you can retire. Now this is where you start receiving your pension. So you need to stop working at this age, for instance. The ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, farais for instance, there is no cutoff at all. That a person can say that, look, now I've reached 70 now, I've retired from everything else, now I'm going to retire from going to the masjid. I'm going to retire from doing the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 80 years, 90 years, I've read salat for 70, 80 years of my life, I'm 90 years old now I can at least put my feet up now. No, it doesn't. It continues. Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, who already reached such a high maqam as it is. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala himself, right till the end, Nabi Kareem sallallahu himself performed his salah. To that extent, that when Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam was very close to his demise as well, Nabi Kareem sallallahu sallam, with the support of the Sahabas and Ali Sayyidina Abbas sallallahu ta'ala, would take support on them, and he would be dragging himself on this. With their support, he would come into the masjid as well to perform Salatul Jama'at. Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam didn't himself start relaxing, start cutting down on the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, when he could not do qiyam so much in tahajjud, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam would sit and read his tahajjud. That Nabi Kareem sallallahu would do, which is what? Which is part of age and life as well. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu sallam himself did not cut down. Which shows that the continuity, that ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a lifelong process. And when that is a lifelong process, keeping a check on our nafs, keeping a check on ourselves, and our ruhani progress, this is also something that continues right towards the end. There is no point in between, wherein now a person says, look, I've reached a position, that's it, I'm done now. I've completed something. And now I can take my foot off the pedal. It is something that is continuous. But we never mind talking about that stage of something continuous. We are still beginners. And when we are beginners, we already think that we have accomplished everything while still being beginners. And this is where shaitan, this is the biggest deception that shaitan puts us in, that because we now already as beginners think, like the child who's been crawling for a number of years, now starts to walk, and the child, when starts walking, the child gets chuffed as well. The child gets chuffed as well, isn't it? Look, I'm walking now. But how to walk? The child will walk like a penguin. But the child is chuffed that, look, I'm walking here. And it'll have that boast and smile and start showing off as well. And then we start running as well. But before you know, it just drops down as well. Hasn't got the balance. But the child thinks that, look, I've reached, now I'm walking, I know how to walk, I've achieved it now. But the child is still in that process, we still learn, because the child hasn't got the right balance. So the child will be showing off that, look at me. And before you know, the child has fallen. Child has fallen. This is how our nafs is as well. That we start doing a bit of ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, become regular and some zikr and that, controlling the nafs here and there. And that's when the nafs starts feeling that, look, I'm walking, I'm flying now. I'm flying in the air now. And I'm reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then before you know, you fall. And you've fallen so flat that now you feel that you can't even get up anymore. So this is the deception of the nafs. Hence the importance of having a murshid, somebody with whom we can discuss these type of things, who can keep us going and keep a check upon us throughout our life. Similarly, there was one murid who wrote to Hazrat Hakim rahmatullahi, and this is something that also applies to us all. The remedy to these things may not be universal, because a sheikh will, like a doctor, he'll deal with his patients differently. Not necessarily that every similar symptom will be treated in the same manner. What we describe to the doctor may be similar to another patient, but not necessary. The illness is exactly the same. This one murid wrote to his sheikh, to Hazrat Hakim rahmatullahi, that when I come to know that somebody has made gheebat of me, then it creates anger within me. It creates anger and rage within me. And that's when I feel that, look, if he's in a gheebat of me, then out of rage and anger, I'm going to make the gheebat of him as well. To which Hazrat Hakim rahmatullahi, and he wrote this and asking, and the purpose he asked this was, now this is something that we all go through. In fi'ali kayfiyat which is called. Which means what? Something which is not in our control. If somebody was to swear us, automatically, naturally, it's in nature, naturally, isn't it? You're going to feel enraged within yourself. You're going to become angry. This is natural. That which is natural, it is not in the ikhtiyar, in the choice of an individual. Somebody says something to you, or you see something good in another person, the element of hasad coming within the heart, these are things which are natural. So he was concerned that this kayfiyat that comes in my heart, that I feel anger and such anger that I want to make gheebat of that person as well. He's asking his sheikh that, is this something right or wrong? What should I do about it? This is the purpose of him writing to Hazrat Hakim rahmatullahi. To which Hazrat rahmatullahi replied to him saying, that at that time, the feeling that you get within your heart, that is something which is not in your ikhtiyar, it is not in your control. You have no control over that. And because you do not have control over that, you will not be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will not be a sin. So somebody was to swear you, for instance, somebody insults you, the anger that you may feel, the insult that you feel within yourself, that just comes automatically, it's not in your choice. So because of that, la yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Because it's not in your control, you will not be sinful for that kayfiyat, that condition that comes within you at that time. However, when that condition now comes into your heart, for you now to entertain it and carry out whatever condition comes within you, that is now in your ikhtiyar. Now, for instance, somebody did swear you, you became angry by it. You felt that anger within you, you started boiling within you, that is not in your control. But now the taqaza, the need of that anger is what? That you want to retaliate. Retaliation, this is within your control. And because retaliating or not retaliating, that is within your control. If you do retaliate, then you will be questioned with regard to that. There you will become sinful. That he made gheebat of me, so I made gheebat of him. You had a feeling to do that, you will not be questioned, but the fact that you went and did the gheebat of that person, you will be questioned with regard to that. That person swore you, and you became angry, so you swore him and his own family. So that was in your control, and because you did that, you will be questioned and you will be sinful for that. You will be questioned and you will be sinful for that. So where a person has the ikhtiyar and he carries it out, he will be sinful. Where he doesn't have the ikhtiyar, meaning the choice, there he is not going to be sinful upon that. That is what Hazrat Hakim rahmatullahi had mentioned, and this is something that we go through as well. And this is one example with regards to ghibat, but there are other examples as well with regard to anger becoming anger, swearing somebody, retaliating at somebody. Also with regards to hasad as well. That when we hear something good about somebody, that somebody is praising somebody, or we see something good in that individual, at that time where within the heart the desire comes that look, I should be praised as well. Or within the heart feeling that no, I should have been the one in that person's position. I should have been the one with the new house. I should have been with the one with the better house, with a better job, or the whatever else that this person has. At that time, that feeling to enter in the heart is going to be natural. It's going to be natural. Yes, there are those awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who have made such mujahada upon the heart that they are able to reach a position wherein things may not so easily affect their heart as it would with others. But that affecting of the heart, as I mentioned to you, that affecting of the heart, that itself is not in our control because we didn't bring it onto us. It's naturally it's come there. Naturally it's come there. So that coming in our hearts is fine. But then it's a case of how do we deal with that feeling that comes in the heart. Now that the anger is there in the heart, now that feeling that look, I should have been better than that person, I should have been the one who acquires that praise or so, now that feeling has come into the heart, now what do we do? If we now feel that no, somehow or the other, that honor should come my way, even if it means that that person should be deprived of that honor, that position, that wealth, or whatever it may be, it should be, I should be having that, not that individual. And because of that, you start speaking ill of that individual. And this is what normally does happen. Because the other extent of hasad where a person will go and physically harm that individual, not every person is able to do that. If that person is somebody who is stronger than you, then you can't really go and physically do something to them. You may not want to go and physically go and do something to them, go and smash the car windows, start scratching the car. People do that out of hasad, isn't it? They smash somebody's car in that. They smash people's windows. So there are those who go to that extreme. There are those who understand that, look, that is not the right thing to do. Or maybe they do not have the foolishness within them. I won't say courage. They do not have that foolishness in them to go and do something of that nature. Or maybe they want to, but there's cameras there, so they can't do that. Those type of things we may not be able to do. But if somebody is praised in our presence, to then degrade that individual, this is very easy for us to do. And this is what is most common. This is what is most common. In that, first of all, we're doing ghibat as well. We're doing ghibat as well, and on top of that, we're tarnishing that person's reputation. Why? Because of hasad. Somebody praises somebody, कि भाई फुला, so and so, he's, mashallah, he's a this, he's a that, and he does this good, and he does that good. And we do not like the fact that why is that person praised? Well, I do those type of things, and I do even more things, and why I am not being praised. I should have been the one who's been praised. Why this person is praised, or nobody's praising me, and why they're praising that individual? When these thoughts come into our heart, now we become angry at that time as well. We feel insulted at that time, and we have hasad as well. A whole combination of all these illnesses. This is why you have multivitamins. In the same way, you have all these multi-illnesses as well. Not always just one, a multiplication of all these different. At that one moment, there's anger in your heart. There's jealousy in the heart. And then at the same time, there is enmity in the heart. And then you go off and you start doing gheebah. And there is no gheebah, then there is going to be slandering that you're going to be doing. So it multiplies here. So what we can do is we tarnish that person's reputation. We start speaking ill of that person deliberately. Why? Because that dislike that came in our heart, which was not in our control, that hasad that came in our heart, which was not in our control, but then we implemented that, we carried it out by making the ghiebah. We carried it out by speaking ill of that individual and insulting a person, dishonoring an individual. This is something that is common, and we do that. And that is all part of ghiebah. So that person who is praising that individual should think ill of that person. And we do that, isn't it? We hear all this praise and say, but look, you know what? I don't want to tell you. We always say that. We say that to so many people, even so secrets, and somebody comes to us and confides with us. Please don't tell somebody. No, he doesn't say that. We tell the next person, well, look, don't tell anybody. But I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. Okay, fine. And then somebody else comes and talks to you as well, and that person was told the same as well. Look, I'm only telling you. I'm only telling you. And in this way, we've told so many individuals, and we tell that person to keep it to you. But the whole purpose of saying keep it to you means do not keep it to you. So we want that, look, others should come to know as well. This is how we, isn't it? We don't really realize. Somebody comes with amanat to us as well. Somebody confines with us. It doesn't stay within that at all. We make sure that we want others to know of it. Anyhow, this is how we start off. Somebody will say something, look, I really don't want to say, especially in this majlis, I shouldn't be saying this to you, but fine, this is the side of that person that you know of, but no, this is another side that you do not know of, and this and that, fulah. So we deliberately do that. It may be factual as well, it may be correct as well, it may be true, but it's not necessary that you should be mentioning it. Rather, even if you know these type of things, and you keep quiet upon it, you conceal it, Allah Ta'ala will conceal your sins and your wrongs in the day of Qiyamah, as the Nabi Karim mentions. You knew that, look, this person has all these faults, and you could very easily have spilled the beans, but you left it. You've remained quiet, and you have done what? You've concealed the faults of your fellow Muslim brother, despite the fact you didn't want to, despite the fact you had that opportunity as well, you had that hasad at that time as well. There will be great reward for that. Who will reach Allah Ta'ala without any faults in that? We are not masoom, it is only the Anbiya alayhi salatu salam. And we all want that Allah Ta'ala conceals our wrongs, conceal the wrongs of others, and Allah Ta'ala will conceal our wrongs as well. Especially when we have that opportunity. You're chatting on your groups as well, and somebody mentions of somebody, something of somebody, and you know. And you can now mention so much with regards to that individual, you just keep out of it, you keep quiet. That is also part of that, concealing the faults of another fellow Muslim brother, rather than being part of it, adding more wood to the fire, and being part of it, or passing more and more information on. It's very easy to do those things. What is difficult is to control the nafs and not get involved in that. And this is what cowards do. It's what cowards do. That is very easy to be part of it, that person has been honored. You don't like that, so dishonor that individual. Swallow your pride, have humility within you. Swallow and control that hasad that is there. And all the bad of that individual is there on your tongue. You can't go and you control that. This is what mujahada is. This is what having courage is, rather than speaking ill of that individual. So this is what we do. That we want to then tarnish the reputation of that individual. And if those things do not even exist, then we will make certain things up as well. We will make certain things up as well. Maybe you have seen that person doing something once, maybe. Only once you've seen or you're aware of one incident, when you make say, look, this person is always doing this. This person is involved in this. Only that person did something once, and that's the khalas. And you say this person is involved in this. And remember the fact that you say this person is involved in this. How do you know what if he's already made tawbah? And he's made tawbah and you say that he's involved in this, we've made tuhmat against that person. He may have done it in the past. But since that person had done it in the past, which you are aware of as well, he might have done tawbah. And that person has done tawbah, you have not realized, you do not know he's made tawbah, and you think he's involved. So that now becomes slander, because he's not doing that. If he is doing it, then that's gheebah. If it's found in him, that is what the gheebah is. If it's not, then that is buhtan, that is slander. So this is the illness that we fall into. And that's why Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullah says what? The best is, just do not speak of any person at all. Do not speak ill of any person. Just don't get involved. You'll save yourself from so many things. Gheebah and slander and so many accusations, these things. You'll save yourself from doing these type of things by not doing anything. As with regards to Hazrat Shah Abdul Pulpuri Rahmatullah mentioned, with regards to where you have su'ezan, thinking ill of another individual, and that is husnezan, thinking good of somebody, where there Hazrat Shah Abdul Pulpuri say, but do not just think anything of an individual. So it is this way, by not doing something, you are saving yourself from so much sin. It's easy for you not to do something, then do something. So it's easy for you to just keep quiet, rather than speaking ill of that individual. Rather, if you are in any majlis wherein somebody is making gheebah of somebody, they're speaking ill of that individual, defend that person's honor. Defend that person's honor. As the Haji Imdadullah Rahmatullah, in his majlis, if somebody would make gheebah of somebody, as the Haji Sahib Rahmatullah would put his head down and he will just keep quiet and let that person speak as much as he wants to. And that person at times would think that, look, today I've really scored it with Haji Sahib. I've really scored it with him. That I'm speaking ill of another murid or somebody else. This is where you get that, where you have that hasad between maybe satis and murids as well. So they will come to the sheikh and mention this and that about so and murid or so and so khadim or something for that matter. So So he thinks that, look, Haji Sahib is listening everything and he's taking it in, and I've done a good job here. So the Haji Imdad Rahmatullahi would listen to all those things, and then at the end, he would say to that person after he'd finished, "Bhai, haqiqat to ye hai कि तुम्हें गलत फहमी है." You say, भाई हकीकत तो ये है कि तुम्हें गलत फहमी है, वो ऐसा नहीं है, वो ऐसा नहीं है. So he would listen to everything, and at the end he would say to him that, look, you are misinformed, you haven't got your facts right, this person is not like that. And then Hazrat Haji Imdadul Rahmatullahi would speak of the good of that individual. So that person himself then gets a message as well, that look, all that the gheebah I made of this person was of no avail, no use at all. It was of no use at all. And you just listen quietly to all of that and then reply to him in such a manner. Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi mentioned that these are those people who were able to listen to that and it not affect them in such a manner. We are different. We listen to those things, and those things what we hear will have an effect on us. So we rather just cut it off from the beginning. Cut it off from the beginning and not. But here the lesson also was that others, that person will also realize that, look, this is not the place for me to be making a gheebah. It's not the place for me to be doing gheebah. Otherwise, if that becomes gheebah, and another person, you know, this is a good place for us. If we get together and then we can start making the gheebah. It's a good place to do gheebah, isn't it? Go for i'tikaf, and after i'tikaf, then when we just sat there, so this is a good place to make gheebah. We go to the masjid, and after we do a bit of tilawah, we sit in the corner of the masjid. It's a good time for us to make gheebah. Ustad has left the class. Students are together. This is a good time to make gheebah of the ustad. So you should know already that, look, no, this is not the right place. This is not the place that we're supposed to be doing gheebah. So the people would get the lesson already, look, we should not be doing gheebah in front of Haji Imdad Rahmatullahi, because we're not going to get any fruits out of it at all. We're not going to get anything out of whatever we want from it. That's not going to happen. So instead of speaking ill of that individual, speak good of that person. And in actual fact, the speaking good of that person is a remedy. It is a remedy not for that person, but it is a remedy for ourselves as well. Especially when it comes to the matter of hasad, for example. For hasad, one of the remedies of hasad is that make more dua for that person. Because you have disliked. What do you have disliked? You have disliked whatever Allah Ta'ala has given that person. You have disliked whatever success Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has given and granted that individual. And it is that success which is burning in your heart. So one of the remedy is make more dua for that individual, that Allah Ta'ala grant that person even more success. You do that, that's going to be very difficult. But that making dua for that person is what's going to remedy the heart. And the heart will also realize that you're better off not doing any hasad for somebody, because then you're going to have to start making dua for all people. You're going to make dua for these people, then their success is going to be even more. So rather than me not just have any hasad whatsoever. So in this way, Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi mentioned to this murid of his, that the fact that this thought comes into your heart, you will not be questioned with regards that, you will not be sinful with regards that. So maybe others as well you may feel that, look, this is how I feel at that time, what should I do about it? You don't be questioned about it. But then to entertain it after that, and carry out the needs of those feelings, that need to now make gheebah, of doing something out of hasad, to speak ill of that individual, to hit that individual, for instance, that is where now you need to control yourself. That is what mujahada is. And when a person will control themselves on that occasion, they will save themselves from, because then if you are going to carry it out, that's where a person is going to be sinful. And then after that, Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi gave two more remedies to this individual. One is, he said to him as well, that if you were to be from those who carry out, if you actually go and do what the heart wants at that time, then think of your actions over the actions of that person. That look, that person made gheebah of me. And the gheebah is going to be what? Something ill about you, isn't it? Gheebah is not if that person is praising you, you won't call that a gheebah. Because you're not going to feel angry with that person of, why is he praising me for? There you're going to become chuffed. That why did he, or yes, you might get angry that why did he not praise me more? His praising was not enough. So yes, you may become angry with that as well. That the likes were not as many as I was wanting. So maybe you might feel angry in that way. But in general you won't, because the person is praising you. So it has to be something bad for it to be gheebah. So that person has made gheebat of you. You have become angry, you have become frustrated, and you have done whatever you had to do with that individual. You have taken revenge with that person, and whatever you have done. So Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullah says that now think what you have done in comparison to that person. And you will come to that conclusion that his gheebat was correct. His gheebat was correct. That when he spoke bad of me, in actual fact, I am worse than what he spoke bad of me of. So what he said was right. He spoke ill of me and I am not good. If he said I am not a good person, then this is true. Because he made gheebat of me, and this is what I have done, that I have retaliated in such a manner that I have done hasad on him, and I have carried out that hasad out, I have done gheebat of him, I have sworn him, I have done what not to him. So in actual fact, my wrong is more than what he is in one gheebat, and I have done so many more things against that individual, so I am worse than that individual as it is. So then think about it, then you realize that, look, why should I get angry for him speaking ill about me? Because this is the way I am, this is what my nature is. He says, do istizar of that thought as well. And that is something we don't do, because we don't even look towards our or you. We do not look towards our or you. We do not look towards our wrongs. We don't want to know what wrongs are. That's why Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullahi, Hazrat ki bari barakat, ek ke baad mulfuzat aa rahe. That Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi, when somebody would make gheebat of him, and they would come to Hazrat and say that I have made gheebat of you, that maine gheebat ki maaf kijiye. That was the time when people were open with one another. Forgive me. Hazrat Thanvi Rahmatullahi would say, Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi would say, ठीक है मैंने माफ कर लिया, लेकिन क्या गीबत की वो भी बताए, क्या गीबत की वो भी बताए. And the reason why Hazrat would say this is in order to know what people are thinking of you away from you. What people are thinking of you away from you. Especially when it comes to maybe a sheikh, ulama, mashayikh, or family member, this, that. Then those around you, close to you, are going to be your mu'taqideen, those who like you, those who follow you, those who have respect for you, those who have love for you. So those around you are just going to do what? They're just going to be praising you, they're going to be honoring you, they're going to be respecting you. So what others away from you, how they perceive you, what they see of you, that you do not know. And it is good to know what they are thinking of you as well, in order for you to know what things within you need remedying and what are fine. Because those away from you, you will have those people who just got hasad. So because they got hasad, they're going to just speak anything. And that you have that a lot. Neighborhoods and that, you have that all the time. Because they've got hasad, they just make things up with regard to somebody, this person is this person is that. And you know, that's just made up stuff, you can ignore that. Don't let that disturb you. And the other is that yes, it is true. What they're saying is true. But you are not getting to hear that side of you. Because others around you are those who are just doing what? They are just throwing flowers on you. So because they are throwing flowers on you, they are just praising you. You're not looking towards those faults and those wrongs within you. This was one of the time at Gangohi Rahmatullahi as well. And people would write letters to him. There would be those who would write to him, those who were mukhalif of him, those who had enmity with him, those who didn't like him, and they would write all sorts of things, bad things. And as one of Yahya Rahmatullahi, who was the Khadim Khas of the Manasham Gangohi Rahmatullahi, especially at a time when his eyesight became so weak that he couldn't read the letters himself, he would be reading the letters, and in that he would pause and keep on pausing, and he would skip things. So where there would be all the slandering and all the things, he would skip those insults, he would skip those. As one of the Shaykh Gangohi Rahmatullahi said, no, do not skip anything. Do not skip anything, read those as well. Why? Because for that reason, that maybe even in the enemy, there might be something, some aib that he is able to see, which others are not able to, and at least I can make my islah of that as well. If they're always wanting to make islah, so that they know that, look, there are certain things that need to be remedied, so let me remedy it. Let me remedy it. So these were things that we are not able to see. And one example, I give you an example, if there is, our clothing is clean, and where we can see, look, it's clean. Where there is dirt, we can see it's dirt, we need to clean it. But if there is dirt on the back, somewhere, and we don't even know that, look, somewhere, maybe we walked somewhere and we touched somewhere with our, from the back and that, and there is now some stains at the back, we cannot see that. And because we cannot see that, it's going to remain there. He needs what? He needs somebody to tell us that look, there's a stain on your jabba at the back, or there's something dirty there, so something there that needs removing. Only then will we know that we need to remove. Otherwise, we can see ourselves, others can see us in front, and when we stand in a mirror, we look, mashallah, very clean, everything is perfect, everything tip-top. But we do not know how the back is. For that, we need somebody to tell us. So when he comes to this time, or you and falls in that, we are those who are looking at others, but we need those who are going to show us and tell us as well what is wrong in us. And these were those aslaf of ours. And this was actually what? This was their ikhlas. This is the main thing, that this was their ikhlas. Their ikhlas was such that they wanted, they did not mind people saying this to them. Why? Because they wanted that their islah should take place. So maybe in all that 10 accusations that are there, those 10 insults that are there, maybe something of there is something that, yes, this is something that is waqiyatan really in me, and this is something that I need to remedy within myself, I need to sort out within myself, so at least that can become sorted as well. So these were those people who had ikhlas in them in these matters as well. So here Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullahi alayhi said, bataye what it is. That is different topic a little. With this Murid Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned that do istihzar of this as well, that who is worse than who now. And I become worse than that individual who made my khayr. And then the other thing he said to him was, and also make istihzar of what? Of the azab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make istihzar of the azab and the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that by me now retaliating in such a manner, the thought came in my mind which was not in my control, that is overlooked, but I made that into a sin now. That which was not a sin, I have made that into a sin. Think of, contemplate over that. I have done so and so, and now what about the azab and the punishment that is going to come by me doing these type of things? Think of those matters as well. And that is not just with regards to here, this situation, and with regards to Gheebah. This is all round. With every disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, until we do not think of the consequences of it, we're not going to leave the sins of all sins. And not to think of the consequences after we've done it, we need to think of the consequences before we do it. If we think of it beforehand, that's the only time we're going to abstain and stay away from it. Afterwards, so yes, the person feels remorse and guilt. You're going to start thinking about it, which is better than not even. But if a person thinks of it beforehand, then you know. As Gheebah as well. As we say, tolo fil bolo. Think first before you speak. Think first before you speak. There's where the Gheebah is just there on our tongue. We want to make the majlis, the gathering, entertaining and enjoyment by starting with what Gheebah of this person, because that's enjoyable, isn't it? Speak ill of this person, this and that about that person, pick his faults or that person's faults. It's there on our tongue. Think, what I'm about to utter now, is that going to be useful to me, or is it going to be beneficial for me? Is it going to be harmful for me? Am I going to get reward from it, or am I going to become sinful for it? These kalimat at this moment, are they going to be what on the scales of the day of Qiyamah? Are they going to be in my favor, or is it going to be against me? If we were to think, and that's what Imam Shafi Rahmatullah Ali, when people speak with him, and when people would ask him and think, there would always be a pause, and when asked, he would say, because I would think first, that what I am about to say, is that beneficial for me or not? He would pause, think first, what I'm about to say, is that good for me or not? That is something that we need to bring within us as well. Within us as well, with regards to the tongue, because as I mentioned last week as well, that the tongue doesn't need a lot of energy, it doesn't need a lot of power or strength to move the tongue. That is how the tongue is. So it means that a person can be very weak as well. So they may not be able to move their body around, but the tongue can still move about. You don't get tired. If yaps the whole day, they never say, my tongue is tired. But you never heard anybody saying that, my tongue is tired. Zuban dukh rahi hai, bhai bahut baat hai. Nobody will say that. I need to give my tongue a rest now. Nobody will say that. How will you say, my head is sore, my arms are sore, I did too much lifting or this and that, or my hands are sore, my arms are sore, my feet are sore, I did too much walking, my legs are sore. So you'll say that with regard to your body because you use them too much. But the tongue, nobody says at all that I use that too much. And then when those limbs become sore, you think to yourself, what did I do today? That my arm is sore. Then you start thinking, I shouldn't be lifting this much, I shouldn't be doing that. So you think of those things. but the tongue you're not going to. Kash can we think about the tongue as well, isn't it? At the end of the day, if I from Subah to Sham, how many good things did I say? When I use my tongue for so many things, so how much zikr and how much positive things did I use my tongue for? And how many things did I use my tongue for which were the opposite? Which in harm's way I spoke ill to somebody, out of anger I said something wrong to somebody, something bad to somebody, I insulted somebody, I swore somebody, for example, I made gheebah of somebody. Do you even take hisab kitab of these things at all? At the end of the day, look how did I use my tongue? Because we don't even think about the tongue. Because the tongue doesn't get tired. And it's so small as well. We don't regard it to be anything at all. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions as well that it is a small piece, jirmu hazim. But the effect of it is something that is major from a very small organ. But the effect of it is so major. So Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi said to this person, by make istizar of the azab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then at the end, Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi wrote to him as well, कि एक हफ्ते के बाद फिर इत्तिला देना. Meaning that after you receive this letter and you make amal upon it, then give me a report and a feedback after a week. एक हफ्ते के बाद फिर इत्तिला देना. Why? Because that was his sheikh. That was the whole point. The whole point, isn't it? That the sheikh, like the doctor as well, they'll give you a prescription and say, well, look, try this out and let me know afterwards how you feel. Why? Because maybe it's not effective on you. So it means what? It means now that you need to change the prescription a little, make it a bit heavier now. Or it might be that, look, it is fine now. You can lower the dosage as well. So that is only when you're going to now give that report back. So this person was a sadiq. And he was sadiq as well, wondered his Islah doing. So as I said to him, maybe write back after a week and let me know what your condition is. So at least from the follow-up, you know. Because it's not a case of one size fits all. Every murid might be different. The ilaj and the remedy for each one is very different. But these were those people who were very fortunate as well. That at least they realized these type of things. And they understood the importance of getting it fixed and remedied as well. And they had the ta'alluq with the mashayikh, so they were able to consult with them so that they can change themselves. Unfortunately, we are those who, either we are in that category, have no knowledge whatsoever of what are the razail, what are those things that we need to change in our hearts and remedy ourselves. We don't even know at all. And then there may be those who are aware of these things because, okay, we are still attending some type of majalis and that. So we are aware that, look, these type of things exist. And it needs to be remedied. But that's as far as we go. With regards to remedying itself, that we don't want to do. And because of that, these changes do not come within us. And because of that, our ruhaniyat becomes stagnant. If we want that we make this ruhani tarakki of the safai and the cleanliness of the heart takes place, then these things, this is how important it is that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I'll end on this. On the occasion of Mi'raj, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wasallam came, and Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wasallam opened the chest of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had with him a tray made of gold, and it was filled with iman and hikmah. And Sayyidina Jibreel washed the heart of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam with zamzam and filled it with hikmat and iman, which is called shirk as-sadr. The open surgery, open heart surgery. And what was this? The cleanliness of the heart of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then after that, Nabi Sallallahu says, and then my heart was closed again. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam then went for a long Miraj as well after the open heart surgery. He went for the Miraj as well. So this is when the heart of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as well was cleansed. On this is mentioned as well that this incident of the washing of the heart of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam transpired more than on one occasion. Yes, those of the opinion that it occurred 3 times and those who mentioned that it happened 4 times. One is when Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was still a child in the upbringing of Sayyidina Halima Sa'adiyah radiallahu ta'ala anha. It happened at that time. And then there is also mentioned that when Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was 10 years old, it occurred. And then Nabi Kareem, when he was in the Ghar Hira, and since Jibreel came at that time, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam experienced this. And the 4th is on Mi'raj. And those opinion that the Halima Sa'adiyah and the 10-year-old, this bachpan, it was only one waqiyah. So 3 or 4 times We show that even Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Nabi Karim's heart was opened up and cleansed and washed with Zamzam 3 to 4 times, so that Nabi Karim's heart becomes so clean and so pure. So clean and so pure. So that itself just shows us how important it is for us who are born and given that nafs ammara, how important it is that we do the safai of the heart and the cleanliness of the heart. If only we truly understand this and do something about it as well. Allah Ta'ala grant us all understanding. It is more remedies and more that can be said with regards to Gheebah. Allah Ta'ala wills, we shall continue with the next majlis. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.